This week we have no Ken. Ken is doing something exciting. He is working on some Helm charts for Kubernetes and Ziti, installing Ziti stack in your Kubernetes cluster, which is fun and exciting. And we have a few different initiatives going on around that. So he's heads down. And I said, hey, if you don't need to show up to Ziti TV today, I can get this one without you, buddy. And he took opportunity and said, I'll keep working. So maybe he'll watch, maybe he'll listen in the background. It's another dreadful day here in Western New York. It is gloomy and rainy. And I have a friend who has always said, if it's going to be wintertime, at least it should be snowy, right? If it's going to be cold, let's have some snow. There's no snow out there anymore. It's just raining. But to have a nice sunshine to my day, we do have something fun and exciting going on today. We have this thing that I've called a user spotlight. And in this case, it's going to be with a company called Delta Secure. And we've got a guest star named Dominik. And much like my last name is difficult for lots of people, his last name is difficult for me as an English speaker. So I'm not even going to try. We're just going to call him Dominik. He's just going to call me Clint. And it's going to be just a friendly little conversation between two fellas. So why don't I bring Dominik on the stage here? Hello, Dominik. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm great. For everybody listening, why don't you pronounce your last name for us?
Oh yeah, it's Münsterer. So
All
it's with
right.
the umlaut.
I love
That
it.
makes it a little
Love
bit
it.
difficult.
And my Americanized Ukrainian last name is Dovalok. Not at all how people in the Ukraine pronounce it, apparently, but that's it's about 100 years ago now that my grandfather came to this country. So it's been Americanized. Well, today, thanks for showing up. This is exciting. I really enjoy having people on who are using OpenZiti in some way, shape, or form. And so I was talking to our mutual friend Philip, and he said, "Hey, Dominik is down to come on Ziti TV and show us what you're up to and what you're doing." So that's exciting. And so I mentioned before that you work for this company called Delta Secure. Do I say that correctly? Is that
Yeah,
Delta
that's
Secure?
correct.
Yep. And what exactly is Delta Secure? What do you guys what do you do?
Right. So we are a managed security services provider for small and medium-sized enterprises, and we focus on providing a managed security operations center service. So
That's cool.
for all, yeah.
So when somebody can't own or can't operate their own security center because having bespoke people to do this is pricey, right? So you can offload some of that. Is that the idea?
Absolutely. So typically, only the very large enterprises have their own dedicated security operations center because for 24/7 operations, you'll need at least 4 or 5 people working around the clock, which is not
Yeah.
bearable for the most smaller companies.
And difficult worldwide too, right? You need somebody in
Right.
all the time zones. And so Delta Secure
Right.
has people in all those time zones, or do you have people just locally that work late?
Yeah, we have people in Germany that work late. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Well, that's cool. And so, Delta Secure, you are doing this security operations stuff. And so, is that how did you end up finding OpenZiti? Like, where did you get into OpenZiti? How did you find it?
Right. So when we got started, I was looking at a way to conveniently connect our customers' clients to our log collecting infrastructure. So um, essentially, we needed to find a way to connect all the customer infrastructure, be it Windows clients. So that means just normal Windows computers of our customers, or any kind of a Linux or firewalling infrastructure to get it connected to our log collectors
And
without
so,
having yeah.
go ahead. And without having,
Yeah, right. Without having a huge hassle of a certificate, yeah, with providing certificates and also all the issues that go along with it.
yeah. So most people probably think of log shipping as, just sending data into the cloud, right? Like they just send data to some public endpoint.
Right. So I mean, there's multiple ways to do it. Like the I'll just call it the old-fashioned way, and that would be to just have a log collector that exposes a port to the public and accepts, for example, TLS connections. But I mean, that provides us with a lot of hassle, because let me just share my other
Oh,
screen here.
let me bring your screen up and we can see what you're
Sure.
saying. All right.
So that's something we still offer, because there's still some customers who are only able to send via TLS, for example. But it's pretty difficult, because we have a root certificate authority, and
Hmm.
then for every customer of ours, we need to have another intermediate certificate authority that then signs the leaf certificate that we actually provide to our customer. And because if we wouldn't have this intermediate certificate, if there would be a compromise of the client certificate, we would have a huge problem, because we would need to exchange all the client certificates, because there's a lot of tools we use that don't really support any certificate revocation list. So that's why we at least have one intermediate certificate authority per customer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so there are still public endpoints out there that you provide for people doing it the classic way. And then
Right.
along came OpenZiti. And were you specifically looking? So you said before that you were looking for it to be convenient. And then were you specifically looking for dark endpoints to basically hide that classic style of endpoint that people would ship to? Or was it really more the convenience, and the dark aspect of ZD just kind of was gravy, on the top?
All right. So I wasn't really looking at only at dark, or yeah, let's say dark endpoints, but just for a solution in general. So I also had, for example, WireGuard inside, and had a look at that too. I've been using WireGuard before, and I think it does have its use case, but it's just not that convenient for us at this point.
Sure.
So if I go to the other slide, um, I it, I actually, well, first I was just looking for a way to connect our customers' clients to our infrastructure. So that's what you can see on the left side here, which says a customer infrastructure. So that includes all the, as you can see, all the infrastructure elements, as well as clients as well. So in this case, it would be Windows clients that wouldn't even necessarily be in the company network, because of
Mm,
people working remotely, for example.
yep.
And so we ended up also using Ziti within our own infrastructure. So not only on the way from our customer to our log collectors, but also between our log collectors and our SIEM systems, and
Nice.
also between our SIEM systems and our SOAR system, for example, and also for the tool that we use for our public key infrastructure to generate certificates, and
Wow.
so on. Yeah.
So you've really gotten a pretty deep deployment then.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say we're using a CT for any kind of application that we need access to. Yeah.
That's great. And what how, did you find the main benefit? Why? So before we had said, you were looking for a convenient way of sharing the logs. What made you decide to actually bring ZD all the way through the rest of the infrastructure?
All right. So that was essentially the fact that we don't need any open ports for any of our systems. So we're not running our SIEM systems, for example, on the same hardware as our source system.
Hmm.
So we would need any kind of network connectivity between those systems in order for our SIEM alerts to get them into our source system, for example. And without CT, we would need to put them in the same network,
Well, I was going to ask
which
that. Yep, I was going to
yeah,
ask that exact question. Yeah.
yeah, we would have we would have had to put them in the same network, essentially, and that would obviously allow the source system to technically also access the SIEM on the relevant port, etc. And for the solution right now, There only the log collectors can send to the specific ports of our SIEM system. So there's no way for the log collector, for example, to actually access the web interface or any control ports of the SIEM system, which makes
That's
it
really
really
cool.
secure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, of course, I know what SIEM and SOAR stand for because I wouldn't, of course, I'm just so educated. But for the people out there who might not know what SIEM and SOAR mean, could you rehash that for them, of course, not for me?
Sure. So a SIEM system is it's an abbreviation for a security information and event management, and it's basically a system that collects all the logs and puts correlation on it, and we try to gather information from other sources as well. So, for example, for IP addresses, we already know from which country they are and additional information on domain resolution, for example. So that's basically just a way of aggregating all those logs and getting intelligence out of it,
Okay.
and also allowing to create alarms when things happen that shouldn't be happening.
And what about SOAR?
And a SOAR stands for Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response. So it's the next part after SIEM alerts get triggered. They are sent to a SOAR system, and that's well, it's a platform for analysts to automate a response, basically. So to very efficiently respond to alerts that are created by the SIEM system.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so, I was wondering, in either of these systems, have you integrated any of the OpenZiti metrics for the types of stuff that you're collecting at all? Have you integrated that in your alerting, or are you using it to see who is accessing what services when in any way?
Currently, actually, not. So we're not logging currently on the city level, but only on the well, application level. So obviously, we do have an audit trail in our CM and source system, so that says user X Y logged on at that time, for example, or did a specific action. We didn't actually yet pull the logs from City, but that's definitely something we will do in the near future as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat. So I I can imagine being a security focused company that the reason adding OpenZiti in every place is so that you're walking the walk that you're going to tell your customers, hey, you really should be, closing all these ports down. Is that one of the sorts of things that the company itself does? Like, do you do that sort of auditing and then say, hey, look at us, we've done it ourselves?
Yeah, definitely. We're doing that, and it's also a major well, point of value that we see that we are providing, because there's even if any attacker would have access to our CM system, there wouldn't be any way to get the data out of our infrastructure. So there is no possibility for any kind
Yeah.
of data leak, because there's no port open from our CM to the outside. So the only way would be to send the data on the specific port that we also use to send alerts to the SOAR, to send it to the source system, which wouldn't make any sense, because there, even from the source side, there's no way of the data being able to get out. So that makes it really secure and prevent data leaks of our customer data.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I assume, how long have you had the OpenZT implementation? For, has it been months now?
Yeah, it's been months now. So I discovered CT when I was in the US, actually on vacation. That was in September last year, and then we brought it into production well, sometime in October. Yeah, so
And
about a month later.
and has it ended up being a differentiator for you guys? Like, has that like that data point that you just said, even if somebody were to compromise one of our systems, exfiltration is not possible because of the way we have this all set up. Has that been a successful differentiator?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely an argument that you it's something you can't argue about, because if
Right.
there's no way for the data to get out, it's that's one of the strongest points, I guess, in terms of security. Yeah.
That's cool. So, all of your to go into OpenZT terms, all of your services then, which are doing the bind operation, they all offload onto local host. They don't traverse your internal network at all.
Right. They only offload onto localhost. Yeah.
Oh, that's really neat. And so, I mean, that's That's exciting. I personally like seeing successful deployments, and I also mentioned or noticed before on the right hand side of your architectural diagram. You've got that one what looks like one big network, one big Delta Secure security operation infrastructure, but you don't have to highlight the fact that there actually are on separate networks.
Right.
It looks and all works like one giant network because that's what ZD provides for you. That's pretty cool.
Right.
So,
So yep.
oh yeah, go ahead. No.
Yeah. So I mean, this border here is really just to understand that that's where we consider our infrastructure starts. But all itself, I mean, they're just all on different dedicated servers mostly, and just connected over the internet via the CT overlay. So there's no other network connectivity in there that's needed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat. Now, have you found the need or desire to deploy multiple edge routers, or do you just have one edge router, or how does that work? How does your OpenZiti overlay look?
Yeah, we currently only have one edge router for each server. We did start testing. We don't have it in production yet, but we also did start testing on our customer side to use the zedified beats as well. Yeah.
Ooh,
So
oh, Zetified Beats. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So, for those who may not have heard, but now Beats is a log shipping framework, right? Is that
right. Yeah.
is that the only one that you use, or do you have other ones?
We have other ones as well, but mostly due to our customers' requirements, if they are not that flexible. So if we can bring our own, let's say, desires into our customers' infrastructure, then we definitely use Beats and also the CD overlay by now.
So
Yeah.
Beats is your preferred log shipper, and
Yep.
right now, if when you go in on the left hand side in the customer infrastructure, when you deploy out, you'll deploy the Beats agent along with ZD Edge Tunnel. Is that what's on the customer side?
Right. So I mean that really depends on what the customer wants. But what we do typically is provide a yeah, kind of a virtual appliance in the customer's infrastructure. So that would just
Mm,
be a Linux server within the customer's infrastructure, and then the customer can just send the logs, um, basically how he likes to this log shipper,
I
and from
see.
there, this log shipper is connected via the city overlay
I
to our
see.
log collectors.
So is that it's a virtual appliance you said, right? And
Right.
is it sometimes Windows or is it always Linux?
It's our appliance is always Linux, but I mean our
Yeah.
customers mostly have Windows servers actually.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, is it like an OVA type of thing? They download and run it in VMware or whatever. Is that how it comes?
Yeah, it's just a virtual machine. I mean, if they don't want another virtual machine within their infrastructure, we also offer to just install install the certified beats basically on an existing server. But
Sure.
that's usually how we do it. Yeah.
And now, we started talking about zetified beats, and um, most people watching don't quite they're not as they're probably not as far along on their OpenZiti journey as you are. So zero trust is without a doubt a journey, right? You said you found this last year when you were in the United States, and it takes multiple months generally to think about how you're going to, you got to be thoughtful about your deployments. So everybody starts with a tunneler, and then they start thinking about, hey, what if I can get rid of the tunneler? Can I get rid of the tunneler? So zetified is a term that we use. I actually just updated our glossary to include this word, which means it has ZD baked into it, right? Like the ZD is in the software itself, so it's been zetified. So zetified beats is interesting because you won't need to deploy a tunneler, right? So you can just
Right.
give your customers a piece of software, and they can just run it, and they don't even need to do any other configuration. They just need outbound internet to wherever the edge routers are, and they're going to get their zero trust overlay network goodness baked into that zetified beats. So that's really cool that you've tried that out, because I think that just came out what, a month or 2 months ago maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and now, did you have any troubles with it with the zetified beats?
I had one a little bit of a trouble, but that was something we caused ourselves. And
Oh, good.
so for those for those who didn't use the zetified speed yet, what you will need to do is you will need to get your JSON file of your identity somewhere on the system, obviously, and then you'll need to define the path with environment variable. And that was something we set, but didn't actually put in the bash profile file
Mm,
or whichever Linux distribution you'll use. I mean, you will somehow have to set the environment variables so that they are still there after a restart or
sure.
after some time passes, and that's something we missed. It wasn't on a production system, but when testing, that was something we had. But other than
Yeah.
that, they are running really stable.
Well, that's good to hear. And so, do you plan on moving forward with zetified beats then? Is that
Oh
yeah?
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, to be honest, there we do have some customers who are not that flexible and also not that open to new solutions that will just say, oh no, we just want a syslog server and send our data via TLS, for example. But for all those customers that are open to something new, we'll definitely use the cdified
And
beats more. Yeah.
and so, are you also including that in your local appliance that you create? Is that the idea? So when a
Exactly.
customer
Yeah.
Yeah, so when a customer says, "I wanna just send it via TLS," do they also say, "And I don't want to install your appliance in our network?" Is that like, do they push back on that?
Yeah, so that was exactly. So that's basically the point that they just want to send their data and they don't want anything third environment. So that's mostly the reason. So it doesn't have anything to do with the beats or the citified beat itself, but they just want to send their data and don't want anything in their own infrastructure.
Sure. And so actually I'm interested, when Delta Secure hosts that particular endpoint, do you make an endpoint per customer or is it a multi-tenant endpoint? And then I'm wondering, are you going is it already zetified? It looks like from the diagram, it looks like it would be, but like I see log collector 1, 2, 3, 4, and log collector N. Do you stand one of those up per customer then, or is it just one entry point?
It's just one entry point, so it's not it's on a multi-tenant basis normally. We do have some load balancing going on in case there's one server going down. So that's more the reason that there's multiple log collectors, but there's multiple tenants on a single log collector. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So, do you have a favorite part of OpenZiti so far?
Um, I mean, the
Was it actually
I would.
easy to use? Like you would
Oh
look for
yeah.
something convenient?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just love the overall, well, the overall architecture that enables you to basically have no ports open whatsoever on any system,
Yeah.
and still be able to securely communicate. And what I also like is the security first principle that by default all data is sent and encrypted end to end, and with mutual TLS. So that's something I really yeah appreciate.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah, those are, killer features of a security product needs to have that sort of thing. It's definitely glad that
Right.
I'm glad that it's appreciated, so that's cool. What about anything missing? Has anything been missing from OpenZiti that you were like, "Oh, man, I really wish we had this?"
Not really. I mean, I had some well ideas to make the console, for example, a little bit better and open some GitHub issues that which were already implemented.
Oh, good. I was gonna
Or
say, did they
they
languish or did they get taken care of? That's good.
Oh yeah, they did get taken care of, definitely. Yeah, so that was I'm really satisfied also with I mean your support and on the discourse forum, and also from everyone else on the CD team. So I always had the impression that yeah to get help whenever you need it, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's great to hear. So, I mean, we covered all of this. Is there something that we haven't covered so far? Do you have another slide, or do you have anything else that you want to get into this conversation? I think. I mean, I get it. I'm really impressed that you've put ZD in between, like basically everywhere there's a firewall. Is my mental. Is that where ZD is? Are you? Is Ziti
You're right.
represented by a firewall?
Right. So that's I mean I wasn't sure how to kind of represent a CD in the infrastructure. So that's where you can see the firewalls. It just means that there's either a software or hardware firewall in between that doesn't allow any outbound connections, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I dig it. I mean, I think that everybody. I've said before, I look forward to a few years when people are just like zero trust is going to be like water, right? Like it's going to be just how you expect to communicate across the internet. Um, at some point, we had talked about TLS, I think, and
Hmm.
OpenZiti itself. Now, obviously, OpenZiti is mutual TLS, right? Every single piece of the OpenZiti overlay has mutual TLS among between it. And then there's the end-to-end connectivity or the end-to-end encryption that you mentioned as well. So when people push back on the endpoint being locally, is it because they don't want to deploy your appliance in their network? They don't trust you to, or is there some, or is they just a for whatever reason just more effort? Like,
Yeah, so we're working a lot with customers that fall into the category of in Germany it's called well, it's translated, it's a critical infrastructure. So it's
mhm.
basically companies that have really high demands on security. So for example, energy providers, infrastructure providers, hospitals, larger airports, etc. And they typically have a completely air-gapped system somewhere in their infrastructure, and that's why they, or a lot of them, don't want any kind of other infrastructure or type of software within their system. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat. Well, I've been chewing your ear off here for 27 minutes. I don't know if you want to say anything else. Anything we might have missed, or something that you wanted to get out here?
Yeah, I mean, nothing we really missed. Just maybe to get a little bit more into detail on how we got started. We or I actually just tried out the Hello World example that you provided, just to get a feeling of how everything works, and what to expect from CD, and what services are, what the policies are, and so on. So to be completely honest, it was a little bit overwhelming at first. That's
Yeah.
for the first day, definitely, and after that it got a little bit clearer what the different parts are, what edge routers are, what you can do and what you can't do. But after that, I mean, by now it's pretty, for every kind of use case, it's pretty clear if we
Well,
should
now
use
you're a
CT.
pro
Yeah.
at it, right? Yeah. Now it makes all
I
sense.
wouldn't call myself a pro, but it's definitely, I'm definitely more convenient in using it than I was in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, would you have found videos helpful, or would you have found documentation more helpful? Like, which of the things would have been better,
I
or
found the
both?
documentation really helpful. So especially the quick start, the quick start examples that you provide, and also the Hello World example was really helpful, just to get a just to get into it. And I mean, it's really just a basic example, right, of just intercepting one port and letting the connection out on localhost. But that was really helpful in understanding what the overlay actually does. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, all right. I mean, I think this has been exciting. You know what? What I was going to ask you. Have
Mhm.
you heard about Z-Rock yet?
I have, and I
Have
also
you?
promised Philip to test it out, but
Oh, did you?
I didn't. Yeah, but I didn't find the time yet. I will definitely have to do so.
So for
Maybe on the weekend. Yeah.
anybody watching, Z-Rock is a peer-to-peer sharing tool that's built on top of OpenZiti. If you haven't seen it, you should go to zrock.io and check it out and see if you're interested in participating. Um, we actually have some discourse people now trying Z-Rock out. And next, one of the things Dominic and I were talking about before the stream started is I am working on updating my quick start, my own local quick start, to use a Let's Encrypt certificate so that it has a valid certificate that is globally verifiable and not a self-signed certificate. Dominic asked a great question. Is there any reason? What's the reason? Why would you want a legitimate certificate versus self-signed? Is there any good reason? From a security perspective, of course, there's no no really great reason. The cryptography is the same. It's just from an end user perspective, it's a lot nicer to not be scared by going to a browser and seeing this site is not trustworthy, right? So having a legitimate third party CA as your certificate provider lets the browsers trust those certificates and doesn't scare the users as much. But yeah, so I'm doing that right now, trying to get through that. So if you're interested, maybe there'll be at least a forum post about how to do it. And I know Ken has done it before and has some, I think, some videos, and maybe there's a couple pieces of doc out there on that. But cool. Well, Dominik, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about Delta Secure and the way that you've used OpenZiti. I really, really do thank you for taking the time. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Was very
Awesome.
fun. Yeah.
Great Ziti TV. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next time. And thank you, Dominik, for coming. And this will be the end of the stream. All right.